Good, okay. No problem. I think I do say so. Bring the meeting to order. All right. Pledge allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as written for May 13th. All in favor? I have to ask Michelle about the ADA update for the bathrooms over there. Okay, we got a playground update, and I take it Mr. Ryan is gonna do that.
Yeah.
That floor is yours.
Well, the playground committee had a meeting last night where they reviewed the letter for the preliminary report given to us from Catherine Dufault, the certified playground instructor. After reviewing the information given to us as a committee, understanding to the agree that the 36-year-old wooden playground structure needs to be removed due to sufficient safety issues. The committee reviewed a couple of proposals, but would like to have a workshop with the Board of Selectmen, as there will be some questions they have.
Okay, that's gonna happen the 29th at 6 p.m. right here.
29th, okay. And then this is further.
Yeah.
That was given by Cliff.
Jay, can I have a question?
Sure.
Do they give any specifics on the safety or danger?
Oh, yeah, we have all kinds of, they took pictures and everything. The structure has got a lot of splinters, the slides themselves. If you look at it, they have gaps down there where kids' fingers can get caught up in there and do some damage. And what used to be able to crawl in around playgrounds, like ADA, it all has to be closed because of the traffic areas. Kids can get stuck in there. So, but the structure itself is not sound. They found a lot of broken pieces and stuff like that. It was only meant to go like 20, 25 years, and we got 36 years out.
32.
Yeah.
32.
Okay, you need to talk to the chairman because she says 36. So that's what she had written down, so that's what I wrote.
Okay, so, in regards to that, this is from the state of Maine Department of Agriculture, Conservation and Forestry. I'll just get down to the brass tacks. During a requested inspection on April 29th, 2025, it was determined that the wooden playground at Denver Memorial Park would not meet certified playground safety inspection standards. Primary safety issues noted were splintering wood, chipping paint throughout the entire structure, the presence of entrapment hazards, a lack of adequate footing, and inadequate safety measures in the design of the metal slides. So, due to the age of the structure, it is unlikely that individual resolution of the issues will be a long-term solution. So, it's slap war.
There's some pictures in that last night.
And that's signed by Catherine Dufault. That was the inspector. If anybody wants a copy of that, I'm more than welcome to.
Rick, does that mean it needs to be taken down right
Yep.
now?
It needs to go away. Yes, it needs to go away.
So it'll be removed shortly?
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
Is that all you had?
Yeah, that's all I had for.
All right, so, the wooden playground. Carl Rao reached out to me in regards to that playground. I don't know if they can bill for it. And I'm like, wow, sure,
Is it what?
they can pilfer it.
Who's that?
The Mennonites.
Oh, they want the playground?
I say I have a conversation with Carl and say, hey, look, you guys know that you can have it.
Is there a Best Buy on the playground? Best Buy date?
I don't know. But the
No,
way I see it is, one, they do a lot for the community, but two,
uh-huh.
we don't have to spend any money
Oh,
on
no,
getting that out of there, and they will. It's a bonus to us.
What are they?
We got enough things to clean up.
No, there's.
Oh, they do a good job when they do
They would
it.
have.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
They're trying to rebuild that.
I mean, I don't think the playground committee would be opposed. I would vote playground committee. The way the meeting went last night, I mean,
They'll do it.
everybody's
They'll
ready.
do it.
They'd be opposed to what?
But I
Having
thought-
the
I
Mennonite
think
stake.
they were
Well, the
looking
committee's just
longer than
advisory.
that.
Yeah, I know, I mean, I
They
don't
make
think,
that decision.
yeah, I don't think
They
they'll be
just
offended
just
by
say,
that.
hey,
Because
this is
no longer
the
no
information
pressure.
you found.
Yeah.
You guys don't
So
do it.
It's dangerous in
Um,
itself.
so
Exactly.
I will
But
make
that's
that
what they're
motion
looking for is the lumber to use.
to, no, I'm gonna make a motion. You want me to just go ahead and talk to Carl and see what he comes up with? And then
Sure.
bring it back to you guys.
Bill's got a question, he's on.
Just so that everyone here understands what was just mentioned. Did they say they wanted it so they could build another playground like that one? Or do they just want the materials perhaps to spread around and do stuff there?
I don't know.
Doesn't.
I haven't had a conversation with him.
Okay, so then,
We're just, we got this last week. So he called me. And I'm, wow, I don't know. Well, I gotta find out about the report first, and then I gotta talk to my colleagues. So I'll reach out
I'm
to
just
him.
I'm just trying to prevent the stories from going around town. What kind of damn fools are we? We tear it down, but then somebody else takes it and builds a playground out of it.
Well,
It's not to be used as a playground.
I'm actually
anymore.
glad you're making that point, Bill. Because wherever that 32, 36-year-old playground goes, once it leaves town property, I could care less. Because at that point, the town has no liability for a lawsuit.
Right.
So I don't care. They can take it, they can move it right across the street, put it in a parking lot, set it up and charge admittance. I don't care. That group of people, they do a lot for this community. And they have the resources, the manpower, and the abilities to, if they were to take that, transplant it somewhere else, you probably bet your ass, it's gonna be really nice, really, really nice when they're done.
Yeah.
And it's probably gonna be upgraded very, very well. But wherever they put it, it's their liability, not ours. So,
And the town is covered because we've received the letter, it has to come down.
yes. So,
I would like a copy of that report.
I don't need it right now. You can take that one.
You got another one?
She's got it, that's other first one's for. Another day. What is that? That's next Thursday, right? All right.
One day.
The docks will not be installed this weekend due to weather and temperature of the water, per the public works director. Correct?
Yeah, well, that and Cliff.
He's public works director.
Oh,
Gotcha.
question.
Perfect, yep,
You said there would be a meeting on the 29th. What time was that?
6 PM,
6
right
p.m.
here, in this room. And that's a workshop, selectmen's workshop with the playground committee. So we are in agreement, we'll talk to So then figure it out and bring it back to you guys, correct? Right? Yeah, no problem.
I know.
What's that?
Okay.
Or,
Do you have anything?
no, no, I'll bring it up next week. No, nothing big deal.
Bring it on.
Well, somebody mentioned last week about, selectmen putting, articles and papers and stuff, and they mentioned there might be an error in it. So obviously, they probably were referring to me, so if anybody wants to meet privately, and discuss anything I put in the papers, I'd be happy to do it, yeah, that's all, yeah. I don't wanna think that I'm putting something out there that people don't understand, or it might be wrong, so, yeah.
Alright. Anybody?
I'd like to go on record opposing the school budget increase, budget that's coming up. If you look at the budget that they're proposing, and you go back 5 years, and look at the increases over 5 years, you project those ahead 10 years. Whatever the first number on your tax bill, it's going to double. 2,000 will become 4, 6 will become 12. The increases in just the school budget alone over 10 years will double every tax bill in this town. My point is, when or how could we get the state representative, Wadsworth, to come in and talk to us about the program that's designed that they follow from the state? There's got to be something we can do before our tax bills reach $10,000, $12,000, $15,000.
Okay. I'm glad you brought up the whole school budget. The Board of Selectmen have no pull, no sway, no direct to the school board, we're special because we're selectmen. When it comes to the budget, we are no different than anybody else. We walk up to the town clerk, the elections officer, we sign in and we get our card and then we vote, just like everybody votes at the town meeting, okay? So my vote is 1. That's it. I don't have the ability to go in and tell the school board, I don't agree with your budget. You need to change it because, the constituents of Brownfield, my constituents, say that they don't like it. It don't work that way, folks.
Okay.
We don't have a special avenue or a better avenue than any other taxpayer. We show up and vote the same way. So, Nate Wadsworth, he was very receptive. And if you'd like his number, I have it. Give him
Can
a
we
call.
get him to come to a town meeting, I wonder?
He shows up at town meeting. Rick Bennett did too, didn't he? He was pretty good about that.
Well, could we have a meeting and invite him and just to discuss the school budget?
Good.
Somebody's got to have some way to reach the state and try to come up with an alternative to what we're doing now. I mean, look at the numbers. In 10 years, you're going to see all our taxes double.
Somebody has to have it.
So I'm not sure where you came up with those figures, Tom, but I don't think they're accurate. If you look, you wrote the budget presentation the other night.
Yes, I got the paper right here.
And they showed over the course of the last 8 years, what the budget increase was overall for the entire district, not just for the grant. And it's I think what you're talking about with the state is a very complicated state formula for how the schools get funding. And it is very complicated. It's something we don't have control over as a school board. The state is the one who has to make decisions about that. So you're right that people from the state have to hear about it, but you're wrong in that if we continue the way we're going, that Brownfield taxes would double.
No, I'm not wrong.
No.
The numbers are right there, and I can show you the paper.
Okay.
You take a 5% increase on what you're paying for taxes right now, over 10 years, it'll double your taxes.
So anyway, If folks didn't have a chance to go to the budget presentation, it is available, it was recorded, and it's available on the MSAD 72 website. If you'd like to understand how the budget has been produced, that would be very valuable. And we ask that you come out on May 28th and as many people as possible come from town and vote to support the schools by voting to pass the budget. It's at 7 o'clock at Maliaket on May 28th.
The 28th at 6 is our public hearing for the ballot question. I have heard some rumblings of, oh, the town, they did that on purpose. No, folks, I got 10 days before the vote. I don't have a choice. It's a statutory requirement. And we were already under the gun with the ballot. So we did the best that we could with the time frame, the school budget. It's funny when it happens every year because it's the same complaints every year.
So at the budget presentation, the majority of the recommendations we heard from the public would increase the budget. People wanted more staff hired, people wanted different programs brought in, all of which would require major increases to the budget. So we did everything we could to keep the budget increase as low as possible. And overall for the entire district, it's an increase of maybe 2% something, which is, I think, a lot less than our town budget increase and a lot of our personal budgets. But if you want to find out, how it got to what it is, please go and look at that presentation. It explains it in a lot of detail.
Kind of heard a few comments over the weekend that, the selectmen need to be at these presentation meetings. I already knew the 4.08% increase 2 months ago. 2 months ago, the select board was made aware of the proposed school budget increase of 4.08% for the town of Brownfield. So sitting down, and if anybody has the expectation that I'm going to, as a selectman, sit down and go line by line on the school board budget request. Nope, not gonna happen, folks. I cannot change that budget with my single vote. And I wanna impress that upon people. It's collectively, as a group, the majority wins. So just laying it on that the selectmen need to be at these meetings and they need to be the ones to lead the charge. But what if I don't agree with the way you want to vote? I'm not going to go. I've sat through enough of them. And last Thursday night, I worked until 8 o'clock. So I think it's a pretty valid excuse not to go to a budget presentation that I've sat through 6-8 times before. They don't change the format. It's the same guy doing it. It's the same dude. So, the expectation that the select board have to be at presentation, we already knew. We already knew the increase. And 4.8%, I'm actually pretty impressed because our health insurance was more than that. It was upwards of 11%. And oh, by the way, our regular insurance went up too. Sorry.
There was, in my opinion, a difference in this last meeting that I noticed from the years when I was on the Board of Selectmen and I would attend that meeting as well. Usually I would arrive, take a seat. 5 minutes later, the presentation would begin and there would be perhaps 2 or 3 of us total present in the room. This time there was probably 20 or 30. And I would estimate that out of that 20 or 30, at least half were either school budget people or teachers or members of families of the teachers. But they were there. And you can bet they'll be there on the 28th.
Yep. Oh, they're gonna be there.
And in years past, I have gone to the final vote. And it's just like this. Does everybody has come, bitch, and then you go down there that night and Michelle is standing there checking off the voters from Brownfield and she'll get maybe 4 or 5.
I'd like to ask, you're on the school board, right?
I am, yes.
How much time did you put in making the budget?
Months,
Yeah.
yeah.
How can you step up, like me or you, step up and say, I need you to cut that budget when you don't know anything about it?
Yeah,
You
I
put
mean,
that much time into it, I can't make a decision on, you know, if I could, if I really wanted to make a difference, I gotta find out what I can do to make that difference. You can't just say, cut the budget,
yeah,
it doesn't work.
I agree with you, Frank, and we started maybe, I don't know, 6 months ago, and the initial budget presented to us, we just couldn't support. The school board just wouldn't support because of the increase. And we asked the superintendent to go back and cut it by, I think he cut it by over $1 million. But some of those cuts, they had to get very creative with, because besides things like insurance that we have no control over, the other biggest expenditure is for staff. And contractually, people get increases that were, you know, in a contract over the past few years. We can't change what is in their contract.
Right.
So instead, what we tried to do was to reduce the staffing needs, and we did that by 6 people. And we tried to do it so that nobody would lose their job. So instead, it was through retirement or people moved to a different school district or something like that. But in order to do that, the administration had to come up with some really creative solutions. Some of those solutions people aren't happy with. And one example I'll give you that is very important for people to know is that at the Brownfield Denmark School, there are only 82 kids enrolled. In one of the classes, I think it's first grade, there are only 12 students. So they're doing multi-age classes there. So there will be a K1 class and a 1-2 class, so that each of them will have 17 students in the class. Well, some people aren't happy with that. They want strictly kindergarten, first grade, second grade, but that means more teachers. And in some cases, teachers would have 12 students in the class. So those are the kinds of impacts where decisions have to be made. New Suncook has done multi-age grouping in classes for years now, very successfully. So it's not like it hasn't been done before. But that might be something else you hear a complaint about, that people don't want multi-age classes at Brownfield Denmark. But if you have 82 students, you have some very small classrooms and a lot of teachers with few kids in the classroom. Doesn't make sense.
So it was back when I was a kid. You know, first, second grade, third, fourth, fifth, sixth,
Right.
you know what I mean? We were in the same classroom,
Mhm.
the same teacher. One side of the room was fifth grade, the other side was sixth grade. It was like that over in Cornish, Baldwin,
Yeah.
all of that.
And there's actually a lot of research that shows that's a better way to have schools organized. It shouldn't just be strictly by age level, because kids don't learn that way. Kids learn at different rates of speed, and this way you have more flexibility with where they can be placed. But those are some of the issues we dealt with over the course of months and came up with the best budget we could come up with. And, you know, we're open to suggestions, but most of the suggestions we got were things that would increase the budget.
If you wanna make a difference, you've gotta get involved.
Mhm.
It's all understood. You gotta be part of the plan. Because you can't, I know, because I was public works director for 20 years. In 1 year at town meeting, one of the selectmen stood up and said, I suggest you cut his budget 10% right across the board. And I stood up and said, you can do that, but it's gonna show, because I worked hard on this budget. They didn't change it.
Mhm.
You've got to work, you gotta start with day one. You can't go to the end of the process and say, well, we gotta do something different.
I'm not arguing that the budget is not something I'm familiar with. What I'm arguing is you can't just say, oh, well, and just keep raising it 4%, 5%, 6% every year. At some point, you just get to the point where your taxes, they are gonna double in the next 10 years if the town doesn't even need anything in addition to what it's now spending, just the school budget alone. And all I'm trying to say is, at some point, South Portland is a good example. A year and a half ago, when the town manager out there said, well, if you can't afford your taxes, you can always get a reverse mortgage. And that's my point. At what point is enough enough? I'm not saying I have an answer, but you can't keep adding 4%, 5% every year and expect people to keep paying it. That's all I'm saying. Something has to be, the system has to be redesigned. That's all I'm saying.
Anybody else? Really, folks?
Get out while we're getting's good.
Okay, let's dance.
Sure.
Daddy? Going once?
Look.
Ah, all right.
I had it, didn't I? This presentation that I sat through the other night was, I think, complete. There was no effort at subterfuge. There was no bird herding around. He told it like it is. The money is the money. If your insurance goes up by 40%, I guess you're gonna have to pay the insurance. The thing that I have always said in this area, and I can't, I'm all alone, it's making me nuts. You talk to the people at the Freiburg Academy and they will insist that every damn kid that graduates from the Freiburg Academy needs a bachelor's degree and he has to know all about the French Renaissance. Well, he doesn't. But if he wanted to be an automobile mechanic or be an electrician or be a plumber or something, where would he start if he was at the Freiburg Academy? They used to have those kind of courses beginning anyway. Now they look at you like you're nuts if you say that. We're not gonna, people get their hands dirty. Anybody try to get a plumber lately? Jesus. They can make a living at what they're doing if they can work with their hands. Why don't we promote it? Why don't we back it? Why don't we spend some of that millions of dollars on that?
So they actually do have those courses at Freiburg Academy. They offer electricity now, aviation, data processing, and something else. So kids can get a start in those areas.
Do they still put them on a bus and send them up to Lake Region?
That's the choice of the parents for students to go there for.
So they spend half the day in a bus going up and down 302.
Well,
They could do it at the Freiburg Academy.
I do know something about Lake Region, 'cause I went to it for 4 years. That's a trade school, that's you're specific in certain things. I did 3 years, 2 years of construction and a year of driving. But a lot of that is kids that have issues with learning in school, period.
Look at you.
And then they sent me away.
I went to trade school. It was a Catholic trade school.
Ooh. We don't know what you, we don't wanna know what you were talking about.
I could go there, I could be captured as any prisoner and survive. You could take a beating from a nun. You could take a beating.
All right, I'll make a motion to turn the meeting over to the reserves group.
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen.
great.
Ladies?
Great. Thank you.
The training is paying off. Move chairs around.
How you doing? You wanna sit in like we did last week? We're good for the display up there. Yeah, we did that last week.
I saw the video last week. Nice to meet you. Oh, yeah, sure. And he'll fight. I'm Holly. Hi, Thanks.
White table is here. White table is here.
Yeah.
Probably the biggest representation.
Hi, Holly. How are you? Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. I'm a little sick, so. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Nice to meet you. Where's the best place for this? I mean, it can only go so far, but.
Yeah,
so we're gonna have some people on Zoom, I think. I think we're gonna have some people on Zoom. I'm not sure how we're gonna, do that. We're gonna have mostly a community discussion, so if you want to have the camera facing, or if you want the camera facing us, whatever.
Oh, you guys are setting up the Zoom?
Yeah, it's been on. It's
Oh,
been on since-
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, we have an owl that, amplifies the sound and lets people see like everyone in the room, but if you don't think that's needed.
So, well, we actually tried that. It would be great if that was over there. We would do that. Because this thing will only go so far. Yeah.
Is this okay here, Patty?
Well, if really I want it to be where the speaker is going to be because I can't move it around.
Oh, you want to be able to look at that?
Yeah, and
Oh, okay.
wherever the speaker, the main speaker is going to be.
Would be better over there?
At least for that, yeah, that would be better. I can get that, Terry. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's fine. Don't bribe me. I'm easy.
Yeah.
You guys need a.
Good thing from last week, right?
Mostly, there's no new. Yeah, maybe I just need to stick with
We didn't get a folder for last week. Thank you.
You also like a folder?
No, I'm not gonna take one.
Okay. You guys wouldn't mind signing in and passing it on? Yeah. Not too bad at all. Hi, everybody. How's it going? Good. Amazing. For those of you who, was anyone here last time? Everyone except Polly, maybe? I think, oh, you weren't here. Okay, so mostly everybody, but not quite.
Oh, I want.
Yeah.
Frank, okay, great. So my name's Tamara. I'm the new Community Resilience Director at Food and no, not Food and Medicine. CB, sorry, my old job is Food and Medicine. And so, yeah, some of you probably met Claire before. Claire has moved to Pennsylvania, and so I will be, I'll be filling her shoes, and they're really big shoes to fill, so wish me luck. She's done a really great job in a lot of communities, so yeah, I'm pretty new to this, but I'm feeling good about it. And anyways, I'll stop talking about me.
Oh, yeah, hi, I was not here last time, and I have worked with Claire. Similarly, my position is ending like really soon, so Brownfield is one of the last communities that I'll be working with, but yeah, very glad to be here. And if you want a second to grab a refreshment or something, that we have some stuff there. We could not offer tea because we don't have a lot of time, so.
We have some snacks and some seltzer water, if you would like.
I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Oh, sorry, Gianluca.
Oh.
Yeah,
We met you on the Zoom.
Yes.
Zoom, yeah, okay, that's right.
yes. Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah, I remember now.
Yep.
Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, so there's a sign-in sheet that we're gonna be passing around. So if you wouldn't mind just signing in, and if you would like to get, email updates, please put your email down and we can send you information. There.
We put our email in last time.
Put my gun on it.
It'd be nice to at least have your name, I think,
Yeah.
because, or if you could put, yeah. I
Yeah,
just
if
wanna
you-
see how many people came, yeah.
If you put your contact information down last time, you don't need to write it all again, but if you put your name down, that would be helpful, just for us to keep track of who came.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we, group agreements, if you take a look at, inside, I gave each of you a little folder. And inside that folder, there are 3 pieces of paper. Or it could be. There's one that is about the breakout groups. And there are some breakout group, community discussion rules. Oh, you don't have one of those?
I spoke with Claire about not doing breakout rooms,
Okay.
because it is such a small group,
Yeah,
like it seems like it might be more productive if we can all share
Either way, the questions on that sheet of paper, we can discuss as a large group. So that'll be helpful for that. And then there's a sheet of paper with some, just some climate, facts and climate change facts, the fact sheet. And then, the last one is some information about the Community Resilience Partnership. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later. Yeah, so last time we talked about what the town's already doing, and some like broad goals that you guys have for increasing the community resilience of Brownfield. And we didn't talk specific projects yet. That's kind of the goal of this meeting, is to talk about specific projects. And any questions that people might have, and, you know, potential groups that we could work with. And so we'll have a large group discussion about that, towards the end of the meeting. And before we get started too much, last time we did check at the beginning of the meeting, if anyone does not want to be in photos, please let us know.
I got one, you can't take pictures.
Okay, thank you for that. We will make sure not to.
No.
You're good. Even if you did, it's like, anyways, yeah. So let's just do a little round of introductions. Unless
Nope, not for now.
Cool.
We don't have a lot of time, so we'll probably try to speed them off. But
Yeah, let's just do super rapid fire round, introductions. So we already introduced ourselves.
Joe Egan. Bill Flynn.
Richard Carl, Justin Myers.
New Zealand. Holly Hazard. Terry Egan.
Nick Frank, Dave, everybody knows me.
Video of,
And these are two of our three select people. Four select board members.
Amazing, thank you.
I turn around and see the tiger on my back, so.
was said at the town meeting.
Very glad that you're all here. Yeah, how, I guess we don't really need to ask that question because we don't have time. So we're gonna keep things going. Let's just do a quick recap of last meeting, even though I just ran through it a little bit. Does anyone want to jump in and give a quick recap from last time? Just based on your memory.
Well, we listed what we thought, what we would like in conjunction with the criteria for the that. And I thought we were gonna get a list, but I took them down. I don't know if anybody's here that wasn't here last time. She said, sorry.
And I was on Zoom, I was listening
Oh,
from
okay.
my couch.
So what we talked about that.
Yeah, we wrote them down on here, and I did send them out in an email.
Right.
I didn't hear,
You didn't get the email?
I didn't hear.
Oh, well,
Well, now that we're gonna get your emails,
yeah,
it might be, like, maybe you didn't sign up, but we'll make sure that it gets to you, so, yeah.
So some of them are listed here.
I was gonna say.
Are there ones that are not here that you wanted to mention?
No, I haven't had time to.
1A through D were the.
On one of those flip flops, the last time was mentioned PFAS. It was an issue that someone said was problematic and they wanted to discuss. The reason I remember that is because I have looked into PFAS in Brownfield, I've gone to the DEP, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There isn't any PFAS problem in Brownfield, and that includes what used to be the transfer station.
Well, can I ask you to do something for us, since this does come up occasionally? and it's something that we have in the comprehensive plan. There will be a follow-up checking into that. Would you be able to write up a little blurb, just like a paragraph, telling us what you just said now? And
I
at
can
last,
give you what I have for information.
but you're the one who met with people who did this,
The DEP people on three occasions. now.
okay?
Yeah.
Because that, what
And I'm
we'll do is,
awaiting more information yet. I've even asked them to give me paperwork describing the closing of the quote landfill that was active in Brownfield when I first moved to town back in the eighties.
so that would be great for us to, in the comp plan, we do an update on what has been taken care of, or what has been done. So if we can add that there, that would be a great way to capture what you have in your head in these reports.
It's very simple. There's no PFAS at Brownfield. That's it.
So would you, the town health officer, mind putting that in writing so that it can be included in the?
Not at all.
That'll be, thank you. Because I just looked at this and it, yeah, if you as the guy can put that in writing would be great.
Perfect.
Thank you.
You bet.
There's a couple of questions on this sheet. Yeah, it says here, CB will help us to enroll our town in community resilience and apply for the first grant. So after the first grant has been accepted, if we come up with following grants, we don't have to go through CB again, a resilience group.
No, we only like help to enroll a town and apply for its first grant.
Yeah,
Yeah, so definitely you don't need to. I mean, like we try to like, help- like the reason why we're here is to like help the towns.
Uh-huh.
'cause, like,
Better.
Yeah.
No, I want them to be more than
so
that.
once the first grant has been given to a town, so is it like almost automatic if they keep applying? Because they've got the records on hand that we don't have to fill out anything or submit anything?
You will need to re-enroll,
But
but
we don't have to go through the resiliency group.
no, you can just work with your like Great Climate Committee. It's great that you guys already have contacts in the town to work with, because that's the idea to like, make you independent in a way, like be able to apply for these grants from now onwards, like.
Right. And it says the select board are the people who will decide actions prioritized in the municipal resolution. Yeah,
Mhm.
so.
Yeah.
Well,
How
thank
do
you.
you find out when the state has new funding?
Well, the state usually sends, basically GoPIP, which is, oh my God, I'm not even gonna go.
The Governor's Office of Innovation in the Future. or
Policy in the
something.
future, yes.
Policy, oh, I forgot the P.
They send emails like every time that they, release the dates for when the towns are supposed to apply for the grants and how much money they're gonna get and which projects are gonna be like prioritized. But from my understanding, funding, the way that other funding has been affected is not going to be affected because the source is different. Obviously that can change, but, yeah.
Who will they send the email to?
Well, so they'll send it to CB, but then, the town can, once you enroll and once you, submit, your information, you should be getting emails from GoPIF. If not, like, we can help the town, subscribe to the newsletter and you should be getting the information, but it's all online and it's public, so, yeah.
We could use that.
And that's where the grant applications will be? Question mark? So the subsequent, so you're gonna work with us on the first one.
Right.
And then that will be submitted, and we'll sign it and say, hopefully. And then 10 months later, there's another award process, or, probably less than that because the process is long. So somewhere, somebody will reach out to our group or the select board or all of us and say, time to apply for another one.
Yep.
Is that?
Yeah, so, as John Luca just said, we could, make sure that you guys are subscribed to the GoPIF newsletter, and they will send out, information about when the next round of grant funding becomes available. And
Now, if we wanted you to help us with future grants, would you be available to do that?
I believe so, yeah, like, we're not gonna just drop off the face of the earth after you get your first grant. We wanna stick around and help you. So we'll be here as a resource. The goal is to make sure that you can, you have the resources to do it on your own, but, we don't wanna just like leave you in the dark. We will be here to help, so.
So you can baby steps.
Yeah.
Right? We'll break it down.
Great information on the graphs, on the climate graphs, wonderful information.
That'd be fine and helpful. And also I wanted to like open up the ground to see if someone that was not here before has any questions about the CRP, or if you would like to learn more about it, because we've been talking about specific questions, but I know some people are not here, so.
I'm totally oblivious to everything. So from what I've taken in so far, and I could be, you were from the state and like the rest of us are like from a committee, like I just don't know where.
Close.
No idea what the situation is.
So we actually work at CB, which is the Center for an Ecology-Based Economy in Norway. And we, one of our programs is the Community Resilience Partnership, which is, I guess I'll kick it over to you because you've been doing this work for longer to describe it, but.
Basically the state like contracts nonprofits and other environmental organizations like for instance lake associations, and we help towns enroll as you were saying, like go through the baby steps until you eventually like can apply for these grants on your own. And that way it's a way to also take, you know, the toll of the town to apply for the first grant. Because we've applied for grants, we worked with 21 towns already, or something like that, 20 something towns. And so it, you know, we know how to write the grants, and hopefully after we write the first one, you guys can just like follow through and like copy in a way the grant that we did, and like it makes it easier for the town.
And I'll jump in here. So the grant funding is 75,000 per round is what we're applying for. It's not a matching grant, it's just grant money that's available to help towns in Maine become or recognize their weaknesses for climate change issues and help address them so that we can be prepared.
Perfect.
You described it beautifully.
Can you get that on tape? Yeah.
Tamara and John are here to help guide us through this process, because they've already done it with a bunch of other towns. And since we kind of are finding our way, they're helping us find our way.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, thank you.
How are we doing on time? Do you know?
It is
25 minutes.
6:24.
So
Let's,
jump to the discussion maybe?
yeah, I think we should. Any other questions about the Community Resilience Partnership or CB before we move on to the group discussion? All right, so if you take a look at the paper that says breakout groups on the top, it has a list of questions to run through, and we're just gonna run through them as a big group. We're not gonna break out into smaller groups.
I'm gonna take notes on the ground.
Okay. You can put it up on a chair, maybe. No, okay. All right. So, the climate committee has met with the select board already. Thank you, Holly, for talking to us about that a little bit today. And according to that conversation, there were 4 priorities listed. And so we figured that we could take some time to run through those priorities. And I think based on our conversation last time, they are pretty well aligned with the things that all of you brought up. And so let's just take pretty much most of the rest of the meeting talking about those priorities and whatever other ideas that you might have. So yeah, without further ado, let's just jump right into it. The first one is performing energy assessments on town buildings, including town hall and the community center. I wasn't present during the conversation. Does anyone want to elaborate on that, and then we can discuss?
So I think you all, I was listening, covered that during the last meeting as well. These buildings are old, they're with older systems, and kind of getting a sense of where are we at, how are the windows, how are the, how is the air quality in these buildings? And then discussing alternatives or either alternatives or supplemental, energy through like mini splits or, better protection for the windows to block drafts or that sort of thing. But essentially understanding where we are currently so that we can move forward smartly is, I think, our first priority.
Isn't that what the assessment would do?
Yes, that's what we're, yep, exactly.
So we don't just start saying, oh, we need mini splits.
Right.
We need somebody to come in and say, here's where you stand right now, this is what I would advise as far as the needs.
And who would that energy assessor do?
We have subcontractors that we work with, but you can also, like, if you have someone that you would rather work with, that's from the town, like, we can also work with them. And something that they also do is like, not only tell the town, like, this is where you could be more energy efficient, but also like, this is how much more money you would be saving. So there's that like, cost savings aspect of it as well to consider.
That's a big selling point in this.
Yeah.
How do we save money?
Yeah, in old towns.
Yeah.
As we heard from the discussion that we kind of heard the end of.
Yes.
Money is obviously a huge deal.
You said CB doesn't help with the assessments, but you can refer us to people who help do the energy assessments.
Yeah, we have subcontractors,
Yeah.
and if there's anyone that you guys have worked with in the past that you would rather work with or already have relationships with, that's fine too.
Okay.
So the cost, Benny, for that would be part of the $75,000. So if it costs $15,000 to have a contractor come in and do the assessment, like that would be part of that 75. And then we would have 60 to do something else with.
So we don't have to come to you after the assessment, we can come to you during the assessment, is that right?
So it's all part of
Yeah, and we can
part
apply
of
for the grant before we even do the assessment?
Right, it's all part of the
Okay.
grant application,
Okay,
is
yeah.
that we would say, these are the things that we
Yeah.
want to accomplish with that $75,000.
Exactly.
There's another example too, and for instance, over in the community center, we just had a new boiler put in a couple of years ago. There might be another building, maybe the Department of Public Works that needs a new boiler or air handler, whatever they have over there as a source of heat. Maybe they need weather stripping, maybe they need insulation. Over in the community center, we have a new boiler, but the fresh air intake isn't synchronized with the boiler. So, like the assessor picks that up, that could be something that, could be part of the grant, making that happen. And if there's any other equipment over there that's not code compliant now or in any building. And one of the other things too that's been brought up by somebody here a couple times is that in this small room, all right, it'd be nice to have a mini split that's quiet and it's providing especially air conditioning during the summer, but also outside air for airflow, because the air does get stagnant. So, things like that are some of the things that people in town have talked about and brought up.
So Tamara, I have a question about like this process and the timing of it. So if we are submitting for one grant and we would have the assessment and it sounds like things that would be recommended as a result of the assessment. So these ideas of, mini splits or insulation or whatever they might be. How would you put that into the grant if those recommendations are dependent on the assessment? You just say,
Follow this guy's advice.
how does that work?
Do you have an answer?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be hard because
Yeah.
like you're getting the money before getting like that done. So like what it can inform though, and it would make your applications in the future like way stronger is like your future grant applications, because then you're like, well, we have evidence that we need this kind of stuff and we have professional advice. And so that's, like the CRP funds so much planning and like the idea is that it's self-reinforcing, like, so like it's informing like future grants and like where the town is gonna go in the future. So that's why they like fund so much planning as well. So yeah, it would be unfortunately like maybe hard to do, but maybe even if you wanted to talk to someone around here that would charge you very little money and like put in your grant to make sure that, you have more supporting evidence, that's always welcoming, but, always welcome, sorry, but yeah, you don't need that kind of, that evidence in the grants. So what I'm trying to say is if you have, people in the community that want mini splits and an energy assessment, it could probably get funded just by having that support of the community and having evidence that community members want that as well. That's the most important part for the state, like the community buying, not so much the professional like advice, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Just to elaborate on that, so if you wanted to do the community or the energy assessment, and then also people were really passionate about doing the mini splits, you could apply for both of those things in this grant. It wouldn't be necessarily that, the mini splits were recommended by the assessment, but rather both of these things were important to the community. And if mini splits do happen to get recommended based on the assessment, you would already have that solution implemented or already have that solution paid for. And then if anything else is recommended aside from the mini splits, you could use that assessment and any, you could use that assessment to apply for future grants, to implement future solutions.
So, and I know this is getting down into the more, minutia of that. So let's say an energy assessment shows that $15,000, stick with that, I like that, 15,000, okay, so we have 60,000 left. Would we then have to say, okay, well, how many mini splits do we get for $60,000? And that's what we're going for. But if the energy assessor comes in and is like, you know what, you need more, like your first priority should be, the air quality over the community center. That should be your priority. Can we move money from mini split category over to air quality category? Or is the money as we apply for it, 15,000 here, 60,000 there? Does it have to be spent that way, even if energy auditor says, you need to spend 60 on fixing that? How does that
Well,
work?
we could write it ambiguously in the grant.
Great.
The question is, if you give us 75,000, or the town, 75,000, can the 75,000 be deployed anywhere? Or does it have to be deployed for those things?
Yeah.
I think that's the real question.
So it has to be deployed for items that are climate and community resilience, energy, focused.
Okay,
So it can't be, we can't, putting a pavement down on the street.
gotcha.
Yeah. It
But
has
as
to,
long as it's towards
yeah.
those items, you can switch it from here to there.
Well, the thing is that if you have a good application, they fund you, but like they want this fund, like, oh, give us money, we'll figure it out later, because they know that has gone wrong in the
Right.
past, so
Yeah.
yeah. So I think the more, like getting, again, community buy-in for like, let's say mini splits and I think the thing is that like, you probably would still benefit from mini splits.
Yeah.
And you would still have the time and money in the future, because these grants are meant to like happen for a long time to apply for something else. So my suggestion would be just commit to it and apply for whatever this energy assessor says in the future, if that's your interest, yeah.
And could we even, as you said, make it a little bit ambiguous, use language like, upgrade the energy systems in town office as recommended from the assessment, energy assessment?
Yeah, potentially.
I will, go ahead.
No, there is a list of actions and the state wants to see that, however, that you have, that you follow those list of actions. And so that's why we're writing these down, because, the list of actions doesn't say just like, oh, what you were saying. I mean, we could write it that way, but We would need to confirm with the state before doing that, if that was the interest.
We wanna make sure we get funded.
And the list of actions are the things that are on that assessment sheet that we looked at, so for each goal, there may be 8 to 10 things listed as.
Yeah, it was 72 actions.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Okay.
So let's just say, sticking with the assessment and mini splits, and we come up with an estimate of 75,000, and we submit the grant for that. But once we get into the work, we only spend 65,000. Can we take that 10,000 and then spend it for something else?
For energy.
Yeah, along, the same lines of
Same
something to do with energy, or do we have to give it back to you?
I think you would need to use it for what you applied for, yeah, what you requested it for. So maybe you could buy an extra unit or, I don't know, but it would, I think.
Maybe that's where the ambiguous portion comes in that you.
Right. And not to backtrack too much, but to go back to your question about, using ambiguous language, in the grants, it is helpful to be more specific. It does help your chances of receiving the grant when you have, specific projects laid out with, what each part of the project is going to cost, and, pretty specific numbers, that looks good on a grant application. And so your likelihood of getting funded is a lot stronger, if you're being specific. And so if you wanted to, include mini splits, to have how many units you wanted and how much it would cost.
Yeah, so it sounds like we kind of need to shop these things out
Right.
prior, to get contractors in to
Right.
help us make informed decisions prior to being able to even apply for.
Right. So
Either that or do like assessments, right? Do an energy assessment, a couple of mini splits for this building, a couple of mini splits for the other building. And then if there's any money left over, we would like to do a vulnerability assessment on our culverts. For instance.
I'm looking at, I think what you're speaking about, the 72 actions. John, Ruth, is this what you're speaking about? So, for instance, strategy area, modernize Maine's buildings, transition to cleaner heating and cooling and efficient appliances in municipal buildings. So some of the actions are adopt and execute a plan for energy efficiency and building envelope weatherization improvements for municipal buildings, collaborate with the school district, upgrade to energy efficient interior lighting. So it's not saying we're gonna put in 10 lights. It's saying,
Yeah.
We're gonna upgrade the light.
yeah, or upgrade to energy efficient appliances in municipal buildings. Install a heat pump system or VRF system for heating, cooling, and heat pump water heating in municipal buildings. So it sounds like it's not totally vague, but it's not saying we're gonna put in one heat
Right.
pump system here.
So the reason that is kind of broad is because that is the list of actions that are covered by the grant. That's my understanding. So you would want to run down the list to make sure that the projects that you have in mind they fit under that umbrella somewhere, which they definitely do, at least these ones do. But in order to apply for the grant, you can't just list like which actions on that list you want to use. It's like you have to be more specific.
Okay.
So if, we come up with an estimate for, 3 or 4 things and it's 75,000, and then we get into it, and we find some things that weren't apparent that require extra money. And now we're gonna spend 80,000 or 85,000. We can't go back to you. That would have to come out of the town's funds, right?
Or a future grant application.
Yeah.
Because you can apply for.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that, like, if you needed to do something, like it had to be done. Like, if we got to, like, we found out that we had to eliminate one of the mini splits in order to get to the 75, we could do that. All right, we won't do it, if you're there or wherever. But if it's something that we need done, and we have to spend that extra 5,000 or whatever it might be, your cap is 75,000, so we would have to be aware of that, because we would have to go to the select board and say, we need another 5,000 to complete this, or,
That has not happened before, which is the good news. Because again, I think what Tamara was saying is like the best idea would be to have a very clear budget that makes your chances higher. And makes so the town is also happy to apply for the grant, because if you're like, oh, we don't know how much it will be, I'm sure that the town will not have as much buy-in. And so that's the idea too, of like, providing so many opportunities for funding. So like you have a clear budget, you talk to a subcontractor that tells you this is how much it will be, it will not change, and like, and you can have rest assured that that will be the case. So that would be like, I think what the town should do.
Right.
Yeah.
So, can some of that money be used to have an administrator, like, make sure that everything gets done? Or do you expect the town to use their employees to make sure that the work gets done?
Which work are you referring to? Like,
Like, out of that 75,000, let's just say that, like, well, we're just not gonna call people up, say, come on in and do it. There'll need to be somebody who supervises it, somebody from the town. Like, and maybe the select board will say, well, Department of Public Works will cover it. Maybe they'll say, well, we're too busy, like, and then ask somebody to do it, like, we'd have to look for a volunteer. Like some grants, they'll allow you to, like, if you're applying for a larger grant, they'll allow you to have an administrator per se. Not that they're full-time, but just somebody who's gonna check on it. And, I imagine the same thing when we get bills in, you expect the town to take care of that through their employees, like the treasurer, that they'll send in the bills, but they're not gonna bill for their time.
It is possible. I actually had this question, this is not something that towns usually do, but it is possible. It's a little, like, there's some like bureaucratic aspect to it, but like when we know exactly which project the town is interested in, and if that was a concern, like we can see a way to put it in the grant. So yeah, we'll make sure that like the town feels like it has the capacity to do it. And if not, CV is here to help, like, I mean, not that we can drive down every year, like, every day, but like, yeah, we're happy to provide that help.
And do we have to use prevailing wage when we do this work? In other words, like, there's some state grants where they get their money from HUD or they get it from USDA, and we have to use prevailing wage. We have to use contractors that use prevailing wage. Like, it doesn't sound like, with this grant, like, that we could hire, like anybody. We wouldn't have to worry about what they're paying their employees.
my understanding is that you can hire any contractors that fit your desires.
You
And
can check on
budget.
because that's a big difference.
Mhm.
And it also limits the pool of contractors that are out there who wanna, like, do additional paperwork.
I know from just the mini split that I looked at to be installed, I mean, they wanted 10,000 for one unit installed. I know you can do it yourself for probably 1,600. So the cost between, and that depends on the design. I mean, every job's different when they show up. If it's on the outside of this wall, you go through it, and that's when you install. So 75,000 doesn't do a lot of mini splits at 10,000, but it does a lot at 12 or 1,500. I think the real thing is just to find a good deal on what you're buying. And I think that, as you don't overspend on what you're doing. Many people are capable of doing the work. We don't want to lose too much to that because the money could go elsewhere.
Yeah, and one of the things that CD can help with, sorry, we probably should get the conversation moving along pretty soon. But one of the things that CD can help with is, getting people to get those estimates. We can help, with getting people to help with those estimates so that we have more specifics, to put into the grants. That way, the likelihood of overshooting, is a lot slimmer, and so, you don't have to worry about, applying for a grant for 75,000 and then spending a lot more than that on a project.
One other thing too, if we go for an assessment and we go for, let's use mini splits again, we're gonna get 6 of them. And we, and they say, okay, that's good, you're gonna get 75,000, and we do the assessment first. I don't see any reason why we couldn't use that assessment to prioritize which mini splits we need first.
Yeah.
Like, that would be a big help for us, rather than us just saying like, let's do, the town office or whatever.
What are your thoughts about how heavy the paperwork lift is with these grants? Because we're finding some of the grants in town, there's really an extreme amount of paperwork. And what has your
That's
experience
the nice
been?
part about it. Like, there's barely any paperwork, which, yeah.
And we're here to help with it, so it's.
Yeah,
Can
you
you
did
pretty
most of it
minimal.
already, yeah.
Can you send us a link, or is that somewhere on the GOPIF newsletter? I mean, where is that grant application, so we can kind of look at what the lift will be?
I know that the enrollment materials are on their website. Is the grant application, like, is there a sample on the website?
There should be, they haven't uploaded it yet, because they're gonna, like, release the information soon, and I think the deadline will be in August.
Oh, right.
But you don't need to worry too much about this first application,
So
because,
easy for you to say.
no, but I promise, like,
Okay,
my words
I
to
believe
you, to
Will
like,
you
be
still be
like,
here in August?
no, but.
I will be.
All right.
Good question.
No, but I mean, we've
Yeah.
walked through the process with towns before. and it's-
Can you forward me like another one that you've done for another town? Just so we can get a sense, is it a 100-page application? Is it a 25-page application?
We write it,
You write the first one.
yes.
Right. And that, we are super appreciative of that. And then we're just trying to get a sense of what it looks like.
We can do that, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. The last thing that I think we should touch
Yep.
on before, leaving, is if there is any other resilience project that you would like to see, that you have noticed that you're interested in, or any of you guys.
So I wanted to ask what the difference is between the energy assessment and the vulnerability assessment. Is the vulnerability like all climate related issues, like flooding and
Yeah.
drainage and culverts and fires and all that?
It can be what the town sees as a priority. Some people do it on their, like, elderly residents. If they have problems with flooding, they only do it on flooding. If they have problems with culverts, so it can be tailored to your needs and your, most pressing issues.
So that might be like another round.
There's also money available on a different track, which I don't know if we'll have time to get into it, to apply for a vulnerability assessment process with CV. Different than community action grants, so, yeah. But this would be a more in-depth thing of like, we know this dam is gonna like fail at some point, and we want to like get really precise information and like professional engineering advice on what to do about it, because we don't wanna like lose money out of it or whatever, or roads plot. And so that's the kind of work that you would do.
I think, and
that
Frank and
Frank,
Vinny,
Frank would probably, that would be a good area that you might have expertise in.
like last meeting, Frank, we got talking a little bit about culvert design. And Rick said for Fen Hill Road, it was like $35,000 to design the culvert. Did I get that right?
For one thing?
I don't know the exact figure, to be honest with you, but it's not just a culvert. It's basically a bottomless bridge. You know what I mean? It's they might call it a box culvert, but it's not, it's quite a bit of work to it. I mean, we put one in similar when I was in there, only it was steel. But you have to put, you have to do a lot of earthwork, then you put the footings in, and then the piece goes in there.
So that whole design is what costs money, costs a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
But it would be, it
This
would
was
be
also
focusing in
designed
on
for fishing operation, right?
vulnerability.
Right, that's the whole idea.
Doesn't want to come out, but maybe other areas that have a flood potential or whatever that the town might have to deal with.
Right.
Yeah.
I can think of one right off quick.
What's that?
I said, I can think of one right off quick.
Which is,
If Terry Blake was still here, he'd disagree with me, but I call it Billy Brook. It's on Dugway.
The name of
It's
it.
got, the name. It's got like, I think it's a 5-foot culvert, and more than once, the water's gone across the road there.
really? Huh.
Taking the road out, part of the road.
Yeah.
That needs to be replaced.
One of the things, one of the priorities that
Is there a
was.
frog ready to jump?
Yeah.
So one of the priorities that we haven't talked about yet actually is engineering design for culverts on road towns. That was one of the 4 priorities. So it was the energy assessment for the town buildings, mini splits for town hall and the community center. Oh yeah, they're right here. Engineering design for the culverts on town roads, and then the vulnerability assessment. So those were the 4 that have been prioritized based on former discussions. So yeah, one of the things that we were hoping to do at the end of this meeting is have all of you just take a second to think about which of these you think is most important in this community, which you think is most important and which will impact the most people, or the thing that you're the most excited about, and put a little sticky dot next to at least 1, maybe 2. And then we can use those as kind of like an informal way of doing a poll to see which things are most important.
I got a question for you. You mentioned replacing culverts. Can we use, if we applied for, let's say we're just gonna do a project that's gonna cost $150,000. Can we use that 75 with other grants or no?
If you're talking about the construction of the culverts, no. This project funds the engineering of.
Well, that would be part of it, right?
Then yes, I
I
think.
mean, you could, what other towns have done, is like they apply for a different grant and they use this as matching. So for instance, let's say that you apply for another grant that gave you money to actually like, get the construction going, then this can fund the planning and it can be a matching, for that other grant. But then that would be like if you had applied for that other thing, if you had the money available, it would probably be something for future reference. But I do think that it's still important to consider the planning for this. Yeah.
I think that we could just do a poll. I mean, not, I think the docs is a good idea, but I think
Yeah, we
that
could just like put
there's
little
so few
values.
people here that we could say who thinks, performing an energy assessment of the town buildings should be the number 1 thing that we throw this funding at. Or should we be focusing first on mini splits for the town hall, for heat and air? I think we should probably just do a little.
It would be nice to do the dots because we like to have pictures because the state likes.
Oh, okay. So if we raise our hands, will you be the dot doer? I'm not sure, like, I know we don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
No, great idea, yeah.
And just while you're
getting
getting that, just to make this clear, this is not like a formal decision on
Yes.
which,
Right.
but,
It is getting feedback from, most of the people in this room are on the committee, with the exception of Bill and Lil. And Justin, sorry, and Rich, Vicky, sorry.
I wonder if we should invite the planning people, they're the ones that work in the office.
Yeah, they haven't been sitting here in these meetings.
But, I mean, they'll be brought in eventually, but yeah, I don't work in this building.
But don't worry, I mean, we wanna hear from
Yeah,
everyone
we wanna hear
regardless
from
of your
everyone.
position, yeah.
Maybe to save a little time, like if it's 7 for the first one, you can just write 7, put the dots on later.
Yeah.
yeah.
We could do that, since the planning board will be.
Yeah, why don't we start?
All right,
Let's do it.
So let's get started. For performing an energy assessment on town buildings, who thinks that should be, wow, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Do you guys wanna, okay,
Yeah, he's
9,
got another hand in there.
10? Okay, 10. How about the mini splits for heat/air in the town hall and community center? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
You can vote twice, because.
Yeah, let's go.
My problem with that is that
I mean,
you do the assessment on your
we
building.
have to know how bad that is,
In my
to know
line,
whether that's.
I would look at
more
a community
important.
center, so I could assess that, and put mini splits in, so I could use it as they want to move cooling tower. Because our big thing we're working on right now
Yeah.
is heat. Heat. I mean, we're programmed now we're working with heat issues.
Yeah.
We have no place for cooling center.
Yeah.
That's what we're working, we're just starting this program.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Just another program I can add, like the box.
And that would be great because the more boxes that you check, that, you know, the more
I don't
umbrella
like them
categories.
boxes because I don't know when I'm gonna go home. I don't want that.
That was 5. Did you rate 5 for that one?
5, okay.
Okay, engineering design for culverts on town roads. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was also 5.
You can put them in.
We do it all the
It's
time. I feel like that's, we do the first round and then
Lot cheaper
whatever's
that way.
left over.
Yeah.
It's a lot cheaper that way.
Yeah. There's a chance.
Because they're all.
Last year, right?
Okay, just gonna keep
Yeah.
going.
that must do
How
that.
about the vulnerability assessment? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Frank or Jenny? You
Pardon?
made vulnerability assessment?
I'm more concerned about the culverts of the town.
Okay.
All right. 7. Okay. So that will help us prioritize moving forward. And so just to let you guys know kind of what the next steps are, we are going to, the enrollment materials are already submitted. So
Well,
you,
they're not
not
submitted
submitted,
yet,
they're
but,
submitted to us.
yeah, but next steps, like the town will be, completing the enrollment materials, which there's a form online and, we'll be in touch about that. Then the select board will pass the municipal resolution, which I'm sure you guys are all aware of that already.
So,
We,
what is the expectation for what should go in the resolution?
we have template language, so you can, it needs to be a specific resolution, so we'll send it to the town as well.
But we'll be stating these choices in there?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And then,
That's the grant application.
Right.
Fun stuff.
Okay. Is there a timeline when these things have to be done? Like, I think the resolution has to be what, in June?
I believe that as long as the resolution is passed before the grant is submitted, it's okay.
Okay.
Before that is better, but even if it's right before.
and for the enrollment, that's why it's important.
Yeah.
There's no deadline for the enrollment, but like basically everything, resolution and the other things that you guys completed as a climate committee, they all go together in the enrollment materials like form. And then you can apply for the grant once you're enrolled. So it wouldn't be nice for you guys to like submit it 1 week before the grant application, because they need to like make sure that all your things look okay, so.
We're ready to go.
Yeah, no, you
And
guys
do
are so
the
prepared.
next steps.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Perfect. Thank you so
I
much.
was wondering if you guys wanted to do a quick, like, climate committee pitch to people who are not a part of the climate committee, and like, maybe when are you meeting next, just to keep people.
Yeah, we don't have a next meeting.
Oh, okay.
I think we needed to like kind of get the next steps
Gotcha,
and,
gotcha.
and I think that if we can look at, what a typical grant application looks like, once we can get some more information,
Yes.
what do we need to do to complete the enrollment materials? That it comes from you and the template language. So once we've done this step, now we'll be able to make the next step.
Awesome, sounds good. I'll be sending out a follow-up email unless Gianluca beats me to it, but with all, we can attach all of those materials just to keep you informed. That'll be next week. I'm still working part-time, so I won't be back until Wednesday next week, but so please be patient with me. But I will send you all of the information I can find about all of those things.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It is time.
Yeah.
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Second, all in favor? Official.
Of course, if any of you have questions, we'll be in the hallway for a little bit, so.
And they put it on there real quick.
Did anyone not sign in that wanted to?
So I might not.
Thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
No.
Thanks for opening your doors.
A draft review.
Yeah. I knew it, I was coming to the store to just say.
I know how budgets work pretty well.